Hi, I'm Dr. Natalie Marks, and we're back with another Fountain Report conversation. Joining me today is a dear friend, Dr. Fred Wininger. He is a neurologist and neurosurgeon and also owner of the Animal Neurology Center in St. Louis, Missouri. Fred, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to talk about the ANC because there's been a lot of I think I would say good forward momentum with a lot of generalists thinking about potentially being entrepreneurs and opening up practices. But it's relatively fewer and far between, I think, in the specialty world. But that's something that you dove into last year. And I want to hear a little bit more about the impetus of creating the Animal Neurology Center.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
I think that we are definitely seeing a renaissance in the specialty space of going to single specialty and private ownership. It's not a surprise that most of the large multi-specialty hospitals have been purchased by aggregates. And I think when you think about that, coupled with the fact that most specialists don't go into veterinary medicine because they want to be entrepreneurs, but they want to focus very closely on their individual medical goals, that wasn't the initial thing that specialists wanted to do. They found themselves at these multidisciplinary hospitals, and this happened to them. But now, because of the pressures and challenges of being at a corporate structured practice, we're seeing a lot of my colleagues go in and start their own single specialty programs.
What advice would you give to other specialists who are hearing this and thinking, maybe I want to do this? It's a lot, but how did you start and what advice would you give to colleagues that might want to follow in your footsteps?
That's a good question. I hadn't thought about that as much. I think that the entrepreneurial spirit is something that a lot of veterinarians admire, but they're afraid to take that leap. We are trained to be doctors. We're trained to see this, diagnose that, fix that, and then go into that cycle. And so to push ourselves to think that we could be more than that we can be leaders, we can be managers, that we can be business people, it's a little bit scary. And so taking that leap has been the most rewarding part of this whole journey. And having friends like you with tons of experience and just all of these different resources through conferences and other, even just colleagues and classmates, has been a great opportunity to kind of grow from there.
Yeah, I think one thing that I would certainly say is part of what you've done well, and also I think other successful entrepreneurs is outsourcing what's not in your wheelhouse, right? And I think one thing that drives the ANC that I've witnessed is you chose a location where you knew there would already be an opportunity. And you also had a very receptive and excited generalist referral base because of your history. Tell a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So after finishing residency, I needed to take a job, and I thought I would just go into the private practice, but I wasn't sure. And then it was 2008, and the bottom fell out. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do with myself? I went into academia. So I worked at the local university, University of Missouri, for 4 years. And then I like to say that I was the best neurologist St. Louis had ever seen because I was the only neurologist St. Louis had ever seen, and developed a program there which was highly contingent on creating a sense of community between the generalists and the specialists. And I really, at my core, what was most important to me is I wanted my primary care colleagues to say, that's our guy. And they would be able to send their cases to me saying, I'm going to send you there because that's where I would want my dog to be treated. And he's going to take care of you because he takes care of me. And that was the community that I created. And while I left, when I knew when I came back, we would be able to kind of reestablish that. And it's been super rewarding.
That's awesome. So, just because I want us to be a little vulnerable here, if you wouldn't mind sharing, what's one of the biggest, not necessarily mistakes, but let's say areas of opportunity that you've learned along the way in your entrepreneurial journey to creating the ANC? And what advice would you give to another specialist who might be going down that path, or something that even now you're thinking, I'm not sure I would do this way again?
Yeah, that's great. I think I would go into it knowing it's not going to be perfect. And I would go into it knowing I was going to make mistakes and not be afraid of them. I wanted to do it right because I had so many people I thought that were watching me from behind saying, he's a great doctor, but what if he does it wrong? And I did do a lot of it wrong, and it all works itself out because if you continue to push and you keep your core values and your principles right in front of you and you act with integrity, it really does all fall into place. One of our greatest challenges was we wanted to build fast because there was a need and we wanted to grip it and seize it as fast as we could. That meant renovating a building as opposed to building from scratch. And I think I would advise a colleague if I was going to advise them anything, building from scratch is going to give you a lot more opportunity to create what you want in your mind's eye as opposed to modifying somebody else's vision into what you have. And what I wanted to share with you, Natalie, is the goal of this is not just to create the ANC in St. Louis. Um, I think when you had asked before, one of the reasons that a lot of my colleagues don't do this is they're afraid they don't have the business model, they don't have the marketing support, they don't have their own medical chops to do it, and they don't have someone to take care of it when they're gone. And one of the goals of what we're trying to do is create this opportunity in underserved markets. There's this misconception that we as neurologists cannot practice outside of a multidisciplinary hospital because there's so much expensive overhead equipment that we require. And one of our goals is to help industry create opportunities for lower overhead experiences so that single specialty can exist in a strip mall down the street.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Fred Wininger, the founder of the Animal Neurology Center in St. Louis, Missouri, and also one of the leading veterinary neurologists and neurosurgeons. Again, I'm Dr. Natalie Marks. Thanks for watching this Fountain Report conversation. We'll see you next time.